It is April 30th, 2015. We are assembling raised vegetable beds. As you can see, I have spray painted the lines already in the shape that the garden bed is going to be constructed. So we've laid out some 2x10s and we're going to start fastening them together. One more narrow garden here, 4x16. Okay, a little quick clip in progress here. We've been going about 10 minutes or so. You can see how we've got this south side of the L done. What we're using temporarily right now is just some brackets to bridge the gap there. We'll probably use a cutoff piece of the 2x12 to give it a little bit more sturdy, and then cross brace in between here so that when we put the dirt in, it doesn't bow out. Okay, the garden raised beds are completed. This is a 4x16 on this end, and that structure that allows for walking in between is done. We sod cut out the inside so the water can percolate down through, and now we're going to be installing a garden blend mix that's going to be our planting medium inside these boxes. These boxes right here require 12 yards of dirt. Okay, we are at the next phase. We're going to be putting cross braces in between these sections. Since we are 16 feet long, the gap here, when we put the soil in, is going to have a tendency to push out on the board. So we're having braces on 1/3 lengths of the section. So this is at about 4, a little over 4. I spaced this out a little bit further than that one, set at about 5 feet to be a little closer to this corner here. You can see I have 2 others on the same line. And on this 4x16 piece, I have cross braces at 4 feet. So that is the final prep phase of the planter boxes. And I recently had a drop of a garden mix, which is a mix of topsoil, compost, sand, and manure. So it is a really good planting medium. It's not too fluffy so that the seeds get lost or float away in the water. They're going to be firm in the soil, and that is going to be our planting medium. And we'll continually add composted mixtures in the fall until that end. So we started with a 12-yard dirt pile. We have the garden beds filled up now. I'm almost to the top rail, maybe an inch below. It's going to settle a little bit, so keep that in mind if you're filling raised garden beds. There's certainly some compaction that's going to happen over the year. And we utilized a mini skid, which is a walk-behind bobcat, to fill this up. It really saved a lot of time. We got this work done in 1 hour. This is what's left over after 12 yards. There's probably about 2.5 yards there that I'm going to utilize in my garden beds. To top coat there, I do not use mulch. I use just a straight black dirt garden bed for ground covers to stretch. So these raised vegetable beds are ready for planting. We are at, let's see, I think it's May 14th. We're about 5 days ahead of last frost, so anything that I can put down now as a seed is pretty much safe. So we'll likely be planting this afternoon or tomorrow. Okay, I've made a rough plant map of the gardens here. Just kind of a rough layout to give me an idea of where I want to put things. And what I've done is I've strung up some rows. I'm going a foot apart. That's going to give me enough room to weed in between the rows and step in between. It's maybe a little bit crowded, but we're talking about limited space here, so I'm keeping things pretty tight. This area here, I have tomatoes laid out They're about a little more than 2 foot apart here, which is certainly a little closer than I'd want to if I had an open field, but I like to have a variety of tomatoes, and they're going to occupy this whole half of this first section. In the back here I will do zucchini, squash, and 2 humps on both sides, and in the middle I think I'm going to be putting peas on trellises in those rows as well there. Here I'll plan on putting leafy greens and lettuce in just more of a patch, just kind of broadcast in there. So that kind of gives a layout of what I have planned thus far in the garden. All right, we're getting some of our planting underway. I have my little helper.
Yeah, it's Elizabeth.
So you're going to start digging right here, honey.
Okay.
Right here. Well, she digs the hole for that. We're putting in 14 tomato plants, and this one right here is a yellow grape. What we can do with these plants on tomatoes is any lower branches like this,
Not tomatoes.
we can take off right here, because
And there's tomatoes.
tomatoes are one of the very unique plantings that will actually grow adventitious roots. See those little hairs? They'll grow roots all the way up a stem. So when we plant this, go ahead and
I love you.
dig the hole, hon. When we plant this, we can plant it up high. So I'm even going to take these leaves off here,
Yeah, and I love you.
which means we don't just plant here.
And there's
We're going
tomatoes.
to plant all the way up to this point right here.
And there's tomatoes. And there's tomatoes too.
Yes, tomatoes. So it's going to give us a lot better rootstock and eventually have a better plant. So I'm going to help her get this last bit of the hole dug here.
We know this state. Daddy, that's my job.
Yep, you got to do your job.
By myself. I'm gonna do it myself.
You see what we're using as a tool? Monkey bar. Believe it or not, it's a great gardening tool, especially for weeds. So now we're burying it deep.
And now we're gonna plant some more. Now what's next, Daddy?
So that's pretty much set to go. We have all the tomatoes in, and we're going to get going on some seeds. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do one final clip here as we have the garden beds all sewn up. All the seeds are in. Some of them are popping through. You can see what we sowed as far as peas go on the 15th are just starting to come through here. Some transplant cucumbers. Zucchini and squash are not quite up yet in this area. But the tomatoes are all up. We have not had very warm weather, so they're kind of in a holding pattern, but they will grow as the weather gets warmer. All the salad greens are sprouted. We have onions that have shot out their tops. 3 rows of beans, they're not quite popping yet here. The peppers were bought as full plants. That's something I did not start this year, as well as some herbs, but I did sow some zinnias here. Kohlrabi, couple rows of carrots and beets on the end here, as well as some broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and eggplant. So that gives you an idea of our arrangement this year. It's the first time we've had them sown like this, so I'll make another clip as things mature and do some more details on the arrangement and show some yields.